This is the Tour of Taihu Lake, the 8th edition, and it is heating up. Let's first go back and take a look at what has unfolded so far. The opening prologue in Wuxi, Chung Lok there, the best Chinese rider. But it was this man, Guillaume Boivin, the Canadian, who set a blistering time and took the opening lead of the 5.3 kilometer prologue. Chung Lok, the red jersey, as the best Chinese rider. There were celebrations all around. Stage 1, the Wuxi Binhu circuit. The clouds rolled in and with it brought the rain. The riders were sent off by the dignitaries, rugged up on what was set to be a rain-soaked stage. But it didn't dampen the spirits of the breakaway. A little bit of frustration. They felt they had a chance to win, but it wasn't to be. In the end, they were gobbled up by the fast-finishing Peloton. And it was the squad of Morechko, the Italian, looking to add to his tally of victories in this great race. Everything looked set to make it number stage 11, but it was Morini, his Italian compatriot, riding for an opposing team, who upset the apple cart and claimed his first stage win of this year's race. Boivin, he held on to the overall lead by a slender 1 second, and Adri Vasilok in 2 seconds behind. Marini's win sent a clear message to his rivals on the man to beat. Stage 2, the Wuxi West Taihu Lake stage. Festivities at the start didn't dampen the spirits, but the riders knew that again it was going to be a wet stage. Boivin there, rugged up, contemplating what might be. Some trepidation as they rolled out, but again, a breakaway went clear. And again, it was the two riders on the opening stage. Cartier here, the Canadian, and with him, Ventili Butts. They formed a strong lead, but in the end, it was Cartier who went it alone. But the Peloton overpowered him coming in towards the finish. And once again, this time, the team of Morechko searching for his victory. And this time, he got it right. Boivin, the Canadian, held on to the lead. Smith, the New Zealander, he moved up into second. Techkov into third. Chung Lok held firm in the red jersey, and Cartier took some spoils on the podium. Stage 3, Wuxi to Changqing, 134 kilometers. The backdrop was the famous Moon Hotel. And Jason Lowndes, the best young rider, wearing the blue jersey there, got things off to a cracking start. But there was frustration at the head of the peloton. The pace was too high, and it took a while for the break to be established. In the end, it did go clear. 4 riders, led here by the Eritrean rider and the Australian in Ben Hill. The ever-present Hill, looking for his first stage win of this year's race, drove the breakaway along. And with 5 kilometers to go, he thought it was time to go it alone. But once again, it was thwarted. The peloton, the sprinters teams, they led home the charge, and it was United Healthcare in the blue colours, the American outfit, searching for their first victory. And once more, the Italians dominated. Morini, Morechko, and it was Morechko. The jersey changed hands. Morini with the bonification seconds. He took over the overall lead. Morechko moving to second overall, just 1 second off. Stage 4, Wuxi, 117.4 kilometers. Local dancers and dragons to set them off. The riders always curious about what the weather was doing, what the wind would play a factor. A break went clear once again, and the peloton controlled them, kept them in their sights, and in the dying stages, they all would be gobbled up But there was drama because Morechko got a flat tyre. He had to rejoin and chase hard inside the last 5 kilometres. He did just that, got himself to the front. And when they came around the final bend, teams scrambling to the line, and Morechko somehow managed to sprint clear in the green jersey. Morini coming at him, but Morechko did just enough.
Jakob, tough sprint, tough day, and now you have the orange jersey, I believe.
Yeah, I think that I take it. So I'm happy for that, and I see day by day what I can do with them.
So Morechko now moved into the lead with a victory. Morini dropped just 3 seconds. Alzate at 13. Bovan, the Canadian, at 13 seconds as well. But Morechko, it was familiar territory. He liked the colour of orange. Stage 5, Nantong, the Haimen. And once more, the weather was unkind. The rain came in. It's becoming a familiar format for the riders. Jackets on. But Cartier, it didn't dampen his spirits, and he dragged 4 more riders away with him in the break of the day. For Morini, well, it was all smiles for him. Jonathan Clark, the Australian, searching for some food. The gap opened up to over 1 minute. Cartier took the intermediate sprints and then discussed tactics with his team director, Sportive. It was time to attack, he said, and that's exactly what Cartier did. In the end, it was to no avail. The Peloton brought them all back. A couple of crashes on the lead-in, riders desperate. And this man, Jon Abasturi, the Spaniard from the Basque Country, took his teams and his first victory of Taihu Lake. So the standings after 5 stages, Jakob Morechko in front, Morini at 9 seconds, Bovan the Canadian, he looms as the danger. Chun King Lok leads the red jersey as the best Chinese rider. The district of Jiangyan, covering almost 1,000 square kilometres. During ancient times, it was historically the intersection of the Yangtze, Hai and Kanghai rivers, or also known as the Three Waters. The town of Qintong is regularly visited by tourists alike and holds major historical significance, with relics from the Zhou dynasty dating back to 1000 BC. The Qintong Boat Festival, boats from nearby villages converge on Sheikhi Lake for a few days with theatrical performances, dragon dances, and of course, the big city of Taizhou. Some 4.5 million people form the backbone of the district, with industries based on the local agriculture. So let's take a look at today's stage, stage 6. The shortest stage of the tour, in fact, 106.4 kilometres. As you can see, it's pretty straightforward. 8 circuits up and down. 2 intermediate sprints, the first one at 39.9 kilometres, the second at 79.8 kilometres. If the wind is blowing though, this could be a tricky stage. Well, the traditional dancers at the starting area to welcome the riders and the dignitaries. It really are some good sights to see. It's a big part of the Tour of Taihu Lake, and we certainly all enjoy it. But for the riders, well, it's business as usual. And Nicolas Morini here, signing on, wearing the green jersey. He's got that on loan because it is Morechko who leads that, the Monton Racing team. Spirits are high for them.
The team is going well. Vitaly is up there, you're up there. What are the plans for today?
I think we must be carefully in breakaways. Maybe some of our rider go in breakaway today, but the main tactic for today is a group sprint. We working for Andrei Kulik, who was in top one day ago, and tomorrow and yesterday he was 7th. So we think and have some carry that he win today.
So Nicholas, looks like the last flat sprint. How are the legs today?
Yeah, today is the last chance for as a sprinter, and it's not raining now, but there is a lot of wind, and it will be hard to have at the sprint today, I think. But it's going to be a funny day, you can say that.
So King is still in red, feeling good. What are the plans for today?
今天就先跟在主铁群，可能要靠前一点为主，因为侧风可能比较大，然后保留体力，明天做最后冲击。
So John, great win yesterday, sprinting well. How do you feel today?
Today I think like yesterday, no good legs, but I need to start, no, to check good or not good. Maybe today difficult day because a lot of wind, and I don't know. Maybe other team they want to push, and we try to stay with the first teams, and I think it's possible arrive together. I think. But with this wind, I don't know.
Another flat stage, another sprint it looks like, but a bit of wind out there. Could that play a part today?
Well, it's been looking like this wind every day, and nothing's been even close to splitting. So, again, we'll be up the front and being attentive just in case. But I'm predicting another bunch sprint, especially with the last harder stage tomorrow. People might be on the defensive, or saving their legs a little for that. So I'm thinking a relatively easy day in a bunch sprint.
Well, there we are. Some of the favourites for today's stage and potentially some of the favourites for the overall. And there's Morechko. 3 stage wins for him. Dignitaries set the riders off for the start of this, the 6th stage, the penultimate stage of the Tour of Taihu Lake. Chin Kung Lok there in the red jersey as the best Chinese rider riding for Team Hong Kong. He's had a consistent race so far so good. And all he needs to do is hold firm today, tomorrow, and he could well claim that jersey. For Marini, well, he took out stage 1. He'd dearly love to win another. He's been very present on all of the occasions, but there's always been someone better than him since. Well, we heard from John Abosturi, the Spaniard, the rider from the Basque, who won at yesterday's stage. And, well, a little bit of a surprise packet, but when you look at his CV, 7 victories this year for Abosturi. So he's had a good season so far, and in some ways, no surprises at all. So a little bit of tension, and you could hear from the common theme from the riders that were interviewed, the wind is the factor today, potentially, because it is blowing across this course. So it doesn't seem to be a head or tail wind, it's more across, and it is an up and down, well, in cycling terms, we call it a hot dog course, straight up and down. First attack of the day, it looks like it's a rider from the Minsk cycling team, the Belarusian team. And that looks like Stanislav Basko, who has gone on the move there. Almost sneakily trying to jump off the front. No one really keen to go with him just yet. It'll be interesting to see the reaction, surely, with this wind, the way it's blowing. There'll be some nervous riders, and nervous riders in the general classification. For the sprinters, you heard Marini say, it's a last chance for them today. They obviously don't fancy their chances tomorrow getting over those hills that potentially really should decide the winner, the overall winner of this race. So Bazku there, Stanislav Bazku, just nipping off the front, not getting too far as yet. And it looks like a rider from the Novo Nordisk squad there. The team of diabetes, riders with diabetes, every rider on that squad. And I think that's number 56, Chris Williams, the Australian. So Chris Williams now bridging across, and he's brought a couple with him as well. A rider from the H&R Block squad there, the Canadian squad, Travis Samuel. And so too a rider from the Colts team. That is Alexander Prevart. There we go. Williams, Travis Samuel, Prevart, Bazcu, and Salomon, the Eritrean rider, also jumping across. So the Eritrean riders are very active. Early action in the race so far. So back with the race now. And you can just see all of the waterways around this area. As we mentioned there in the opening shots, this town, county of Jiangyan, 3 rivers that meet. And here's the breakaway, 62.9 kilometres to go. Just to recap, Williams, Samuel, Prevart, Bazcu and Salomon. Salomon, the Eritrean rider there, number 225. 56 in Williams. Number 161. That's Stanislaw Bazku from the Minsk cycling team. And the ever-present team of Jakub Morechko, Vilja Triestina on the front. And Brazil, Sol Brazil cycling team also assisting. They've put one rider up in the move there. So that's interesting. They haven't been overly present in the bunch sprints. Brazilians, well, they have had a couple of sprinters over the years as a nation, but generally known for their climbing abilities. But they've put one rider up there, so maybe, well, just maybe they're trying to stay out of trouble because of this potential crosswind. There's number 223 at the rear there. That's Daniel Habtemichael. He's been in a couple of breakaways. Eritreans have been impressive at this year's race. And it looks like we've got one of the sprint qualifications up for grabs here. And it's Samuel Travis just trying to launch one early. He's probably gone a little bit too early there. Bazkow now jumps for the Minsk cycling team, but the Colts rider is right on him, Preva. And I think, is Preva going to get there? No, he's not. Bazkow's going to take it. So strong ride there. So Bazkow takes that intermediate sprint. He collects 3 bonification seconds. Or in other words, he gets 3 bonification seconds deducted from his overall time. And I've kept saying every stage they could end up being the most crucial part of this race with the time gaps so limited. It really could decide this race. So the Belarusian, 25-year-old, he takes those intermediate sprint points. The gap, well, about 50 seconds. Peloton, they'll see them the whole way up and down this course. And of course, when they have them in the same straight, if they're close enough. 2 riders in the pink and black there, number 191 and 193. That's the Australian team, Marcus Cully and Caden Groves, the young Australian, one of the youngest riders in this race, just riding for the St George Cycling Club. Groves did a good prologue, and he's had a couple of top 10s on stages, just hasn't been able to quite mix it with the very best, but he is in the mix. So although Morechko was beaten by a couple of better riders yesterday, he's certainly content to put his team back on the front. So let's have a re-looking out this sprint. So there, a Eritrean rider got in the mix as well. He took 3rd in that sprint, so he'll collect 1 second. The Coles rider, Preva, will take 2nd. And you can just see there, Stanislav Bazku, the Belarusian, quite comfortably in the end. He takes 3 points towards the points classification, but more importantly, 3 bonification seconds. They've been hotly contested every stage in this year's race. I think the riders just know how crucial they are. And when you look at the overall general classification standings, there is literally nothing separating. Well, the top 10 is separated by 23 seconds. So there's nothing in it. So this breakaway of 5, they'll work well together, form a little bit of an alliance out on the road. Salomon, the Eritrean rider, he's 20 years of age. He won his national tour of Eritrea this year. And he's won 4 stages of the Tour of Taihu in 2016. Interesting, if you're watching cycling for the first time, joining us today, and you're thinking, gee, Eritrea, didn't know they were a big cycling nation. Well, I can tell you they are, and they have been for years. They've really only just shot to prominence in the recent years. And I keep mentioning they rewrote the history books in the last few years, having a couple of riders ride the Tour de France for the first time. But cycling in Eritrea is like a religion. That is what the locals say. And they are really churning out some talent. And they've been very active in the this year's race. They lost 3 riders to a nasty crash on stage 1, and all 3 had to withdraw. So that was a real shame. But they've still got 3 riders left in the race. And Daniel Michael, who I mentioned just before, this is his first race outside of Eritrea, in fact. He's probably been in 3 breakaways already. So they're certainly making their presence felt. There's Nicolas Marini in the green jersey. He doesn't lead that category, but he's got that jersey on loan from Jakob Mareshko, because Mareshko, well, the leader's jersey overall, the orange jersey, that takes precedence. There's the red jersey of Cheung King-lok, riding for the Hong Kong team. He had a solid prologue, and it set him up to lead that category right up until now. Just 1 day to go for him. He hasn't been active in the sprint finishes, but to me that says he should be able to get around tomorrow's stage. And Monechko, that's our leader. 3 stage wins for him this year, 13 in total. It's a record for Tour of Taihu Lake. He won this race in 2015. I think he'd dearly love to take it out again this year, but I'm just not sure if he'll get around tomorrow's final stage. It's been talked up a lot, and I've certainly been talking it up because the profile suggests that it's going to be a tough stage. We saw what happened last year. Cameron Bailey, the Australian, crashing out, losing the lead. So it's all to be played for in this stage. 57 kilometres to go. The gap is 37 seconds. So Prevart there for Team Coles, leads the breakaway. Coles, they've been very active with a number of their riders in this year's race. Tilly Butt's probably the most active, but Andre Kulk, another one of his teammates, has been up there in the sprint finishes. This is Travis Samuel, the Canadian, riding for H&R Block. And he's another young rider in this race. Just 22 years of age. He's had a top 10 in the stage here already. And the Novo Nordisk rider there in the white colours, number 56. That's Chris Williams, the Australian. Blackboard comes up, gives them the time gap. So it's really been a tough battle for the opportunists in this year's race. I mean, this race is set up for the sprinters predominantly. But I like how the organisers, they throw one out there on the final stage, enough hills just to mix it up enough, just to offload the sprinters. They have their glory early on, but then the final stage really does split it up. You can see here the peloton stretched out a little bit. The wind is blowing from left to right as we look at the race now. And you can tell because you look at the front where they're setting the tempo and they're slightly sitting out. So the team of Jakob Monechko, what they're doing, they sit just enough to the left of the road that they can give all of their teammates a sit in the slipstream. And then behind them, as you can see, that's a perfect shot now. So about 7 or 8 back, they're effectively on the edge of the road, and then beyond that, they're not really getting any sit out of the wind. So that's the tactic of Jakob Monechko. You can see they hug the right-hand side of the road, so they shut the door, is what we call it in professional cycling. They close the door on that slipstream, so they minimise how much rest they're going to give the rest of the peloton. If they're doing all the work on the front, they can dictate the terms. So that's what they're doing And again, they're just going to peg that break. Monechko, even though he got beaten yesterday, he'll have confidence in his ability today and confidence in his teammates, certainly. But others will have something to say about that. Maybe the Spaniard can get up for his second stage win as well. Delco Marseille squad there in the light blue colours towards the front. They've had some riders up in the top 10 as well. Giraud, the Frenchman, Benjamin Giraud. He's had a couple of top 5s. Frustrated the other day. I think he was 3rd, in fact, on the stage. He obviously thought he could have gone a couple better, punching the bars as he crossed the line. And Giraud, well, he's some sort of an expert in Asian racing. He's had stage wins in China, Hainan, Taiwan and Shanghai Lake. Yet to have one here yet. Maybe today is a day for him. So Samuel leading the breakaway, the Canadian, 22-year-old. Followed by the Eritrean, Salomon. He now takes his turn. He was the last rider to get across to this breakaway, in fact. It was Stanislav Bazku who started the break. We saw that. He was the first to attack. And then 2 more jumped across, and then I think 1 or 2 more, and then that was it. The break was formed. But the Peloton, interesting, really not giving them much leeway at all. They're barely letting them go over a minute. They don't want to take any chances. It is the shortest stage of this year's race, 106.4 kilometres, notwithstanding the prologue, of course, which isn't counted as a stage. That's Matthew Zenovic riding for the St George cycling team. He's actually 3rd in the best young rider category. That's the blue jersey. But he's wearing it on loan as well, because the rider on his left in the lead, Marechko, he also leads that category. And then in second place is Nicolas Marini, who wears the green jersey on loan from Marechko. So Marechko is in the box seat of all those 3 categories. So it falls on the shoulders of Zenovic, sort of by default at the moment. He's the rider who cut his hand up nastily 2 days back, had to be sent off to hospital to get some stitches. But he's done well. He's still in the race, which is a good sign. But one of his compatriots riding for H&R Block, we heard news this morning, Ryan McAnally, the Australian who finished 2nd on stage 1, he has had to withdraw. He crashed in yesterday's stage. He made it across the line, some 9 minutes behind. The crash happened inside the last 5 kilometres, but he really did hurt his knee, and the decision was made to not continue, and they're concerned that he may need surgery. So that's a real shame for the rider who comes from northern Australia, the state of Queensland. So McAnally, that's a real shame, because he was potentially a guy for today, and just maybe that's why now they've put this rider here, Travis Samuel, in the breakaway, the teammate of McAnally. So plan B for them today. We've seen a few withdrawals throughout the week, and sort of talking amongst the team directors throughout the week, there's been a few riders that have fallen ill, a few riders crashing out, and that is part and parcel of professional cycling. You can see there Bovan on the very right, just caught a glimpse of his right leg. It was all taped up around the knee. So he had a crash also on stage 2 while wearing the leader's jersey. So Bovan, the Canadian, he comes from Montreal, officially a bilingual city. He speaks, he's native in English and French. They've got certainly quite a different dialect of French when you compare it and listen to a native French speaker from the country of France. It really is a different dialect, and it's known as obviously the state of Quebec. And if you haven't been to the state in Canada, well, certain parts, they only speak French. All of the signs are in French. Literally, English is almost non-existent. But Bovan, he'll be looking to do something tomorrow. He's been waiting in the wings ever since that prologue, really. Team Ataki Gusto there, the orange colours. Ben Hill, the Australian. He is another rider waiting for tomorrow as well. He's not an outright sprinter. He's a real opportunist, but he's a strong rider as well. So you can just see the wind there, just playing a little bit of havoc. There's Morini, safely nestled in, taking on some food. 50 kilometres to go, just over. So a little bit over an hour of racing. So if you have tuned in, you've joined us at the right time. This is the penultimate stage, 106.4 kilometres. It's stage 6. And, well, it's a pretty straightforward stage, up and down this dual carriageway. And we've got this breakaway here of 5 riders: Chris Williams, Travis Samuel, Alexander Prevart, Stanislaw Bazcu, and Salomon Jeffries, the Eritrean rider. So 5 riders. They went clear pretty much after the start. They pushed out over a minute at one point, but that was about as far as they got. And it's the team here of Vilja Triestina, the squad of Jakub Marechko. They're the ones controlling the tempo, and they've been a familiar sight at the front of the peloton for most stages. But yesterday was a surprise packet. As they come towards the line, I was looking at all of the key sprinters, and one man who I wasn't watching from Team Ukyo, the only Japanese squad in this race, and they've got a Spaniard on the team who comes from the Basque country, Jean Aberasturi. He came from nowhere, he came from the clouds, and won convincingly in the end. And it took us a while to figure out who it was, in fact, that had won the stage. I don't mind admitting that. It's nice when you have someone that hasn't been dominant. He'd been there or thereabouts. He'd had, I think, a 5th and a 6th on stages. That certainly didn't look like winning one. But yesterday, wow, what a convincing victory for him, and what a great win for his team. And it turns out it's his 7th victory of the year. And he's moving back to a Spanish team next year, a Basque team. He's formerly ridden for the Euskadi Euskaltel squad. So he's no slouch. He knows what it's like to race at the highest level. And so in some ways, no surprises to see him win yesterday. He'll certainly be trying again today. He won't have too much support, but he'll know how to box on and fight his way towards the finish. Jelly Belly squad there, just moving up. 36 seconds is the gap. Riders going through the finish line there. And so you can see the hairpin turn there. I think that'll be fairly crucial on the last lap. Not so much that one there, because they've just gone through the finish, but the one up the other end. As I said, they do 8 circuits. It's just straight up and down. It's the shortest stage of this year's race. And really is, yeah, a stage that just could bring more than what we think with the wind. That is the one factor that could change this stage towards the end. It's just whether or not there's any teams that are willing to really take on the sprinters' teams. So just over an hour of racing, 47 kilometres to go. They'll almost average that for this final hour, I'd think. They are moving along, almost ahead of schedule, is what I'm hearing. Williams there for Team Novo Nordisk. What a team. Changing diabetes down the side of his jersey. Every rider on that squad has what I believe type 1 diabetes. Team was formed, well, a few years ago now, and they really have made some progress with their cause, and the fact that they've got riders on the team that have diabetes, yeah, it's a real feat. So you can see strung out here, they're averaging 52 kilometres an hour. So if you calculate that and you look at the distance to go, they should almost be finished inside an hour. And traditionally in stages, they get quicker towards the end when they wind it up for the bunch sprint. So I would imagine we've got just about an hour's left to race. So if you have just joined us, don't go anywhere, because this final hour is going to be quite exciting. Last chance for the sprinters. And a nervous day for the general classement riders as we head in towards the final stage tomorrow. It's the 8th edition of the Tour of Taihu Lake. 7 stages and a prologue. And the top 10 separated by less than 25 seconds. So there's the leaders. They're just hovering around that 40-second mark. Williams, Travis Samuel here, the Canadian. Prevart, Samuel, just a glimpse at the camera there. 22 years of age. He's at a top 10 already on this race in one of the stages. Quite young though. He'd be pretty green, I would imagine, to Asian racing. There's Chris Williams, the Australian. He's a solid man. The rider for Coles. Prevart, the Ukrainian. The Eritrean, well, they've been my favourites here. Salomon Zemenfiz. He's at 38 seconds off the lead. I would not put it past me to see one of the Eritrean riders up there tomorrow attacking towards the end. They're known for their climbing abilities. Daniel Teklehamanot, the Eritrean rider who set the world on fire and put Eritrea on the map in the Tour de France a couple of years ago. And here's the leader of this race, Jakub Morechko. 3 stage wins to him. And he's got that sprinter's build, hasn't he? He's got 13 stage wins in total in this race, in just 8 editions. Can you believe that? He won the race in 2015. He's been the most successful rider at this race, without a doubt, regardless of what happens today, tomorrow. Morechko, well, he'll go home a content man, I would believe. And I think already he'd be looking forward to the 2018 season. He had 2 second places in his home tour, the Giro d'Italia, the Tour of Italy, this year. 2nd biggest bike race in the world. And they were both in bunch sprints. He didn't finish the race in the end, which I don't think would have concerned him too much. Sprinters normally, that's not their big objective, to finish a Grand Tour. Their objective first and foremost is to win stages. And Morechko, he came close, but I'm sure in the next few years we will be hearing that name more and more on the world stage, not just in Asian racing. See the black colours there, black and green, sitting behind this team of Villia Triestina. That's the Israel Academy squad. They've had a great race so far with Guillaume Bovan, the Canadian from Montreal, who I mentioned earlier. And Jason Lowndes, the Australian, he wore the blue jersey in the early part of this tour as the best young rider. And they're not out of it. They're certainly right up there in the overall standings. Bovan sits at 17 seconds off the pace Lowndes at 24. And another one of their teammates, Mikael Raim, at 28 seconds. So they're a team that can challenge tomorrow. And for me, Gyambo Van and Lowndes are the two that can potentially upset the party for the other teams. The Brazilians, you can see there in the yellow-green colours on the outside, on the right-hand side of the picture. They're very formulated today. They've got the whole squad at the front. They'll be nervous about this wind. That's why these teams are sitting together, looking after each other. And I'll be interested to see what the Seoul Brazil squad will do tomorrow. Here's our leaders making the U-turn. It'll be frustrating for them because they're just not going out any further. They're not being brought back. The Peloton can see them on this course. They've got eyes and ears almost on them the whole time. So it's almost an impossible task for the break to survive today. It really is. And if you're a team that has a sprinter, a good sprinter, of course, you're going to bring it back. You're going to put your eggs in one basket and bank on your sprinter. And so for the opportunist teams here so far in this year's race, the opportunities are very limited. Yes, sure, you make breakaways, but because of the flat stages that we've seen so far, it's just so hard to stay clear. And we saw the other Canadian, Alexis Cartier, he's probably been the most aggressive rider of the race. Just saw an arm fly up there from one of the Brazil riders. Riders getting tired, just riders trying to push through little gaps that potentially aren't there, and the frustrations seem to boil up a bit as races go. It's just like going to a normal job, and if you're doing overtime, which I guess that's what a tour is, a multi-stage race is, imagine it like that. You're working overtime for a week straight, so you just start to get a little bit frustrated by week's end with maybe some of your work colleagues, if you like. Get a little bit short in temper. The fuses get shortened. Well, for this rider here, for the Minsk cycling team, the Belarusian team, Stanislav Bazku. He's got a good style on the bike. Minimal movement there. You can see that maximal output through the legs. Bazku, 25 years of age, so quite young in his career as well. Certainly got the best years ahead of him. Well, the wind is blowing, I can tell you that. But because of the way the race is unfolding, we're not seeing any splits. What I'd probably like to see is, back in the Peloton, some serious riders launch attacks, or a team get onto the front and really throw it down the edge of the road. It's the only way they're going to unsettle the sprint teams today, on a day like today. 28 seconds, so they're closing in ever so slightly. It's just a quick race today. They've only been going for, a little bit over an hour, and they've completed 60 kilometres, would you believe? So they are flying. They are absolutely flying along today. Doesn't seem it when you look at the aerial shot there. Doesn't do it justice, really. They're certainly great pictures, but doesn't show the speed that they are travelling. So these last couple of circuits around this, up and down this dual carriageway, are going to be lightning fast. Bazku leads them. Eritrean now comes through to take his turn on the front. Salomon. Prevart there. Also Samuel behind him, and then Williams, the Australian, for Team Novo Nordisk. well, the last few days, the rain has really been fairly dominated a few stages here. The opening prologue, we saw 30 to 35 degrees Celsius. Then the rain came in for a couple of stages. Then we had a dry day, and then we've had wet roads again. So I think the riders, it'll be a welcome relief when they woke this morning. It was threatening, and it is still threatening to rain, but I'm just not sure we're going to get the rain that we've seen for the last few stages. So that's good for the riders, and I think fair to say good for the organisers, and certainly for our TV crew who are doing a marvellous job with the live pictures, our moto cams today. Doing a fantastic job getting up close, not too close. They're not allowed to get too close, but certainly when there's a breakaway like this, you can see there's our moto cam just alongside the riders there, getting some great shots of today's stage. So the gap, 30 seconds, 38.7 kilometres to go in this stage 6 of Taihu Lake. So they're working well together, these 5 riders. But it's an effort that I think is going to be wasted. I hate to be the pessimist, but if you are watching and you've got cycling knowledge, I think you'll agree the sprinters teams have really got them on a string, and they're deciding how long they're going to let that string go out. There's Bovan, the Canadian that I spoke about earlier. You can see the tape on his left leg all around his knee. That would have been from the crash, I think, on stage 1, the opening road stage. He crashed. He got back into the peloton and safely made it across the line, and he was in the leader's jersey on that occasion. There's an Eritrean rider down the rear there. That's number 223, Daniel Habtemichael. It's his first race outside of Eritrea, would you believe? And he's been in the breakaway, the main breakaway, on a number of occasions at this year's race. There he is, second last wheel. So what a fantastic effort. And watch him tomorrow. Just watch him tomorrow. There's a few riders to watch tomorrow. I'm going to be busy tonight, I can tell you that. I'll be marking my pen across all of the riders that I think may be able to win this race outright, because as I've said already, the top 10 is separated by less than 30 seconds. In fact, it's 23 seconds, the top 10. The top 20 is separated by just 28 seconds. So the top 20, just 28 seconds. And if you go down even further, the top 40 is just 38 seconds. So when I speak about these sprint bonifications and how crucial they'll be, now you understand. When the top 40, half of the race almost, less than a minute, it is anybody's bike race. And there's potentially a couple of riders that I have not mentioned so far in this race, that we have not cited at the front, that could end up winning this race tomorrow. So the organisers have done a great job of keeping the suspense right till the very, very end, and throwing in a stage that will turn this race potentially upside down. But for the sprinters, they are not thinking of that at all. They're thinking of the next 36 kilometres and what might be. Can someone get the better of Jakub Morečko? Time will tell. So here is the finish line. It's certainly not the finish right now. They've got a few more laps to go. You can see the break going up the other side of the course. Peloton now will make the hairpin turn. All together. Haven't heard of any mishaps as yet, which is good to hear. Or good not to hear, I should say. 3 laps to go, 3 remaining laps, 35 kilometres, so just a little bit over 10 kilometres per lap. It's about 12 kilometres or just under per lap. 6 kilometre straights, if you like. So, yeah, stick around because this next 35 kilometres, less than an hour of racing, well under an hour of racing. I'd say 40-odd minutes I'd put it at. Now, it looks like this is what I expected. This is what I said I'd like to see, a team that is going to put the sprinters teams under pressure, and it is the Israel Academy squad that have done it. They've done it out of the hairpin turn. It's what we've been waiting for. Look at the aerial shot here. The gap is opening up. There are some splits opening. Riders are scrambling. And if the Israel Academy squad can keep this up, they need to try and just set an even tempo and slowly build it up. They could cause some havoc here and they could catch some riders unawares. There'll be some general classement riders that have been out of position here. Jason Lowndes, the tall Australian in the black there, he pulls a turn. There's a few more riders. Where is Morechko? Let's look for that orange jersey. I can't see him anywhere at the moment. This is one of his teammates, in fact. He's pulling a turn, but they have to think of their overall chances as well. And Giuseppe Fonzi, a teammate of Morechko, he was high on the overall standings last year. So this will cause some havoc. This is good. If you're a spectator like me, enjoying the racing, this is the sort of stuff you want to see. And it's not nice for a rider who's struggling in the crosswinds today, but certainly it does mix the race up, doesn't it? So let's just take a look at what happened here. You can see the Israel Academy squad and one of the Colts riders there, not happy at all. It looks like he's pushed one of the Brazilian riders. So a little bit of disagreeing there. Riders are desperate to be in position. That's what that's all about. You literally are scrambling for a position. And what that has done, that attack by the Israel Academy squad has now, well, it's split the race ever so slightly. You can see riders getting dropped off the back. But what it has also done now, it has closed that gap right up to the breakaway group. The breakaway is going to be caught, you would think, for sure. And now we're going to see another dynamic evolve in this stage. Well, this morning when I arrived, I must say, I looked at the race manual and thought to myself, gee, this could either be one of two things: a very boring stage, I hate to say it, but it's true, or the wind is blowing. It could be a very exciting stage. And when I opened the car, got out, looked at the wind and the direction, and it was blowing directly across the course, I thought, here we go. We are in for a good stage today. So the break now is splitting up. You can see two riders going off the front there. And, well, I don't think they're going to last long. So these are the last two. The Canadian here, Samuel Travis, and the Minsk rider, Stanislav Bazku. He's the rider who started this breakaway. In fact, he was the first rider to attack. Looks like he's going it alone. Travis not able to go with him. So they're going to be swallowed up. So the three other breakaway riders. So it's the sole Brazilian squad now. They've had a little bit of presence, not overly in the race, but now today they are being really present at the front. So this is Travis Samuel, the Canadian, 22-year-old. He's trying to get on equal terms with Bazku, and he's going to do it. So he's got there. I'm not sure what the big benefit is going to be, but he comes straight over and he's going to work with him. So he's a strong boy, Samuel. Lost his teammate overnight, Ryan McAnally, the Australian. More reaction now coming from back in the peloton And it's from the team who started this, the Israel Academy squad. Well, I'm surprised it didn't split the race even more. They put a few men towards the front. I just don't think they had enough firepower. Bazku trying to really attack Samuel. Strange tactics, 30 kilometres to go. I'm not sure why you'd want to do that. Surely you'd work with him. I don't understand the tactics of the Belarus rider. It's in his benefit to use up Samuel at the very least. Make him work. Get something out of him. Because with 31 kilometres to go, you're not going to hold off a peloton. There is zero chance of that on a course like this. But he has other ideas, of course. And he wants to go it alone. So Samuel now, he gets swallowed up by the peloton. So expect to see some more attacks now. I can see the green colours of Nicolas Marini. He is in that front group. I just wonder what has happened at the rear of the peloton. It'd be nice if we can get a shot from the back just to see what riders and anyone of note has been dropped off. So Stanislaw Bazku now, I think he's given up the game. So this is something different, because what we're seeing now is the breakaway is being caught well early, a lot earlier. The last few days, what they've done, the sprinters teams have timed it well, caught the breakaways with about 5 kilometres to go, stops any more attacking, and then they hold that high tempo towards the finish. Whereas now we've got 30 kilometres to go. You're going to see fresh attacks. Riders that have got fresh legs launch attacks. So this will change it up. And you can see there are some riders that have been dropped. So it looks like there's 10 or so riders that have been dropped off the back. There's a Nippo Vini Fantini, a teammate of Marini, who's been dropped. Not sure if there was anyone of note. You can see now, this is Caden Groves in the pink and black colours for the St George cycling team. So he's starting to up the tempo. He's a strong boy. And you can see a couple of gaps opening up here. This is going to make it very interesting racing indeed. Less than 30 kilometres to go. The race is on. So, riders looking over their shoulders, not willing to work with each other. Marini is very present at the front, the Italian, wearing the green jersey for the points classification. Bit of a regrouping at the front though. United Healthcare in the dark blue colours. Moving towards the front. They've got 4 riders in the front there, I can see. So too Delco Marseille, they've got a few riders there as well. So now there's a little bit of a standoff, riders fanning across the road. Surely we'll see some more attacks. And this is the Monton Racing team now that have gone on the move. They've been pretty active in this race as well. Chinese Taipei squad. And that looks like it's Zorzakis Polykronos, the Greek rider. He's ridden 2 world championships on the track for his team, for his country, I should say. And he was in the break a couple of days back and really forcing a pace as well. He's 28 years of age. He rode in France for amateur teams for a few years. He was a national champion of his country in 2015. There he is, just back in about 4th wheel there, drifting back now in the pink colours. This is one of the sole Brazil pro cycling team riders going on the attack, dragging a couple of riders with him. These moves, this is when it can become dangerous, because because you've got no control at the front of the peloton. The sprinters teams have lost control at the moment. Less than 30 kilometres to go. It's about 30 minutes of racing because they are going to fly around these last couple of circuits. It's one of the Colts riders now, who's back out in front as well. So a small gap open up. And let's take a look now at the back. There's two riders from the Nippo Vini Fantini, so that's not good news for Nicolas Marini. One of the Eritrean riders has been dropped off the back. I suspect that will be Daniel Habtemichael. He was sitting near the back, so that's not good for him. So three riders trying to break clear here. Number 42 from the Sol Brazil Pro Cycling Team, De Souza. He started this attack. One of the Colts riders. One of the Ukrainians is also in the breakaway. And let's just try and get the number of that third rider there. And you can see the black colours just taking his turn at the front. So this is interesting. Changes it up a little bit. And it's a Yuko squad. The Japanese squad, they're buoyed by yesterday's stage victory. Big win for them yesterday by John Aberasturi, the Spaniard from the Basque country. And he's just 20 seconds off the pace, the Spaniard. I wonder if he's got some climbing legs as well for tomorrow, because he could be the big danger. A guy that possesses a sprint like he did yesterday. If he was able to claim tomorrow's stage win, that would give him 10 bonification seconds. Then he's only got to pick up 10 more seconds to win the overall. So Team Ukyo, the Japanese squad, the only Japanese team in the race, they could take out this race. But for now, that breakaway, well, that's been thwarted. This is 133 here at the back of the peloton. Mike Sheehan, he's 9 minutes off the pace, so he's not a threat for the overall classification. Riding for Jalibati. But his teammate Techkov, he certainly is. Sergei Techkov, he did a great prologue. He's 20 seconds off the pace. So he's one of the danger men for tomorrow. So too Castillo, the Mexican, 32 seconds off the pace. And Taylor Sheldon, another American on that squad, at 33 seconds off the pace. So they'll be all trying to just protect their position today. United Healthcare now, the strong American outfit on the move in the dark blue colours. So this is a sprint lap. So this is the second intermediate sprint. Remember, 3-2-1 bonification seconds and 3-2-1 bonification points towards the points classification. That's the green jersey. Well, that's pretty much done and dusted. Jakub Morechko should take that classification, but more importantly, the sprint bonification seconds is what is important. So let's see now if we see any of the general classification riders that may be going for it. United Healthcare here really trying to open it up. Just try and pick who is there for them. Alzate potentially number 61. He sits just 19 seconds off the lead. I'd imagine that's him in third wheel. So it looks like it could be Alzate now sprinting towards the line. Is he going to get it? Looks like he will. He's been challenged, but he does it. So United Healthcare objective achieved. And it was Alzate. So he takes 3 bonification seconds. He trails by 19 at the start of the day. That now puts him at 16 seconds off the pace. Good move by United Healthcare. They're a smart team. They've got a smart director sportif in Hendrik Redant, an ex-pro Belgian. So let's take another look at the sprint replay there. And it was Alzate who took it from the national road champion from the Cols squad. I think it was Vitaly Butts and one of the Israeli Academy squad riders there. There it is. Vitaly Butts taking second, and Bovan sneaks a second as well. So the Canadian takes another second. So this is the three-side medicine Buddha here. It's one of the famous monuments in this beautiful region. And it's forms part of the National Wetlands Park here. The three rivers that really merge into this county. It really is a beautiful part of the world. Plenty of tourist attractions. And of course, I mentioned the famous boat race that's held every year. And thousands converge on this region from all of the bordering villages with their boats. It really is a festival, and a fantastic one at that. But back with the race now, and another couple of attacks off the front here. 22 kilometres to go, so this race is closing in, and it looks like the three Eritrean riders have made it back, and this looks like there's been a crash here from one of the Jelly Belly riders. He's taken skin off his right hip, and that is Goruki Aristi, number 134. No, in fact, that's Taylor Sheldon. That's Taylor Sheldon, so the graphic there was wrong. That's Taylor Sheldon for the Jelly Belly squad. So he's crashed earlier today on the stage. He's got back up, and now he's off the front, and he's only 33 seconds behind in the overall classification. So Sheldon here, this is a good move. And I just wonder where he crashed. Well, he's 30 years of age, Sheldon, so he's been around the block. He knows what it's about. And I'm sure that crash potentially has happened on one of those hairpin turns. Well, it'd be in his interests if that Seoul Brazil rider could make it across, across the gap there. You can just see him. He's in no man's land at the moment, the Brazilian, trying to go across. And now Marechko's team of Villa Triestina, they've wrestled back control at the head of the peloton. I think they've realised that they had to. Too many attacks were coming. And so they've got back to the front. And you can see they've got 1, 2, 3 riders. St George cycling team in the pink and black colours in third wheel there. And so too Jason Lowndes, the big Australian, riding for the Israel Academy squad, also towards the front. He'll be trying to lead out his teammate Bovan. So Sheldon here, alone at the front. Just trying to settle into a rhythm. He's got the arms just sort of resting over the front. And his teammate here, number 133, towards the rear, Michael Sheehan. And he's having a chat to one of the Seoul Brazil riders there, Eduardo Gua. So you can see 1, 2, 3 riders with the team of Marechko. There's another one a few wheels back, so they've got almost a full complement. You know who I can't see though? Marechko himself, the man leading this race. He wears the orange jersey. There he is. He's tucked in nicely. No stress for Marechko. He got a flat rear wheel puncher a couple of days back, inside 5 kilometres to go. Didn't panic at all. Got the rear wheel. made his way back through the convoy of cars. He had a couple of riders to take him to the front. He is sitting a fair way back, but he's obviously confident in his teammates to do the job at hand, and that is take control of this race. So just 10 seconds, so the gap is nothing. 20 kilometres to go. So all things considered, you'd believe it's going to be a bunch sprint, but I expect there to be a couple of splits on the run into the finish line, just because of what we saw earlier with the Israel Academy team lighting it up in the crosswinds. So expect to see a bit more of that. There will be some gaps open up, and importantly, we'll try and watch and pick out some of the general classification favourites that may miss and lose some time today, lose some valuable seconds. It really is a crucial stage today, that's for sure. So the wind is picking up, is what we're hearing, especially around the finishing line. It's fairly open. When you see those aerial shots, there's quite a few waterways, which is a beautiful sight, but it's not good for the riders on a day like today. They're not here to sightsee. They're here for a bike race, and when it's open, it almost is reminiscent of Northern European racing. The flatlands of Holland, the Netherlands, Belgium, the early season, the Spring Classics as they're known. Some of the most famous races in the world. The big monuments, as they call them. Tour of Flanders, Paris-Roubaix. Well, that's more so across Pavé. You can see there, it is very flat around here. Not a lot of shelter. So Sheldon, still out in front. Sits in 28th place, as I said. 33 seconds off the overall lead. It's the calm before the storm now for the Peloton. They're really just waiting to open up the throttle and bring it home. Yeah, they've really backed off the pace suddenly. Riders there bunching up, sort of fanning across the road. So it's under 20 kilometres to go, 18.1. One rider out in front. It's an American for the Jelly Belly squad, but it's going to be a bunch sprint. So riders making their way around the hairpin turn now. 8 laps in total on today's stage. It was this team before that caused a bit of a nuisance to the sprinters teams, the Israel Academy team. They split the race a little bit, but just not quite enough. They just needed 1 or 2 more riders, a little bit more horsepower, and then we could have seen some serious gaps open up. They just weren't able to continue on with it. There was about a dozen riders that got dropped off the back. I think they've regained now. But it's a danger stage for the general classement riders. You really have to be attentive towards the front. And it's a tricky one because certainly on the run in the last lap or two, sprinters and the sprinters teams take control, and then you've got the general classification riders who want to be in that same position. They don't necessarily want to try and sprint for the finish. They're almost happy to let the sprinters fight that out, but they have to be near the front, so it just becomes a real wrestle of trying to hold position and maintain position. And sometimes you see tempers flare. We've seen that on a couple of occasions already this week. But that's normal. It's part and parcel of professional racing. The riders know that, and generally at the end of the day, everyone is friends again. This man here, Nicolas Marini, he's been a happy man. Certainly was on stage 1. Took out the opening road stage. He got the better of Morechko. And Ryan McAnally, the Australian, on that occasion, was second. There's the Nippo Vini Fantini squad, all in the orange colours there. They'll look to try and get Morini up into position. There's Manechko, so he is nestled right back. He's got one man right beside him there, one teammate I should say, Ugar Zupa, the Bulgarian. And he's a key ally, Albanian I should say, excuse me, Albanian. The first Albanian to ride a Grand Tour. He's ridden the Giro d'Italia 3 times. He's the national road race champion on 4 occasions. Zupa, he's writing his own history for his nation. And might write some history today and tomorrow for Vilja Triestina. He's in the right of it, could in fact win this bike race. 16 kilometres to go. Gap is 20 seconds to this rider here. So it's Taylor Sheldon who is at the head of the race for Team Jelly Belly, the 30-year-old American. Riding for America's longest running professional squad. Team's main sponsor who sells jelly beans for a living. And they sell a lot of them. And they obviously are very happy with their sponsorship in cycling. And they've had some great success over the years, mainly on the North American circuit, but they have ventured outside and around the globe, and of course to the hub of cycling in Europe, but certainly and obviously here in Asia, where they've had some good success as well. St George cycling team now just helping out at the front there in the pink and black colours, and this is the blue colours here at the rear of the Yunnan Landscape Taishan Pada squad, the Chinese team. Haven't been too active in this year's race. That's Fan Jiujun at the back there. And you can just see once again the rider's pushed over the hard left at the moment. So St George here fancy their chances today. And I'd imagine that would be with Caden Groves, the young Australian. He's just 18 years of age. He's, well, certainly a rider for the future. The national team looking at him closely for the track program, the team pursuit. He won the under-19 national road race title. And he won a stage in another tour in China this year. So he's got some stuff. He's a brute of a boy. And today, really, with the big, long, straight running, it's a day where I'd love to see him go on the attack in the last kilometre. He's a strong time trialist, and he's the type of rider that could almost just time trial off the front. There's one of their teammates, Zenovic, wearing number 196, and more importantly wearing the blue jersey as the best young rider. He doesn't lead that category, he's actually in 3rd place overall. Marechko leads it, but of course the leader's jersey overall takes precedence. You can just see, we just caught a glimpse of his right hand there. If the camera pans down, he's got it wrapped, he's got him wearing a rubber glove. He's got his finger wrapped up. He really did do some damage, and he had to get sent off to hospital after that crash on that stage and get some stitches. But he's coping okay with it. And it's just great that he didn't have to withdraw, because there was a couple of nasty crashes on that stage, on that particular stage. It's been a few most days, in fact, and it's not for any particular reason other than it is professional bike racing and the stakes are high. These riders looking for pro contracts next year. They don't have teams. Nicolas Morini, he's one of those, and he's made it very evident to our reporter on the ground that he's looking for a contract next year, and every result he gets hopefully will help his cause. Blue colours of United Healthcare there. There's two riders, Tanner Putt and Sebastian Aedo. Two sprinters in their own right. And you'd think they'll be working for Alzate today, the man who took the second intermediate sprint points there. Got some valuable seconds. And now moves within 17 seconds of the overall lead. So United Healthcare, although they haven't won a stage, I don't think they've ever been top three. They've been there or thereabouts, but they could too end up with the leader's jersey by tomorrow's end. So Sheldon here, the American, he's opened up the advantage now to 30 odd seconds. With 12 kilometres to go, this is an impressive ride. I know the Peloton have got him on a piece of string. They're controlling this gap, if you like. But nonetheless, he's had a crash already. He's got back on, he's dusted himself off, and he's gone, right, I'll go on the attack now, and that's exactly what he's done. So he's making something of it. Goes through the finish line. 12 kilometres to go. 1 lap remaining in this race. Oh, Marini has got a flat tyre. Nicolas Marini. This is a bad moment. A little bit of a shake of the head. The tongue's out. And there's the bell. Less than 12 kilometres to go now. So Marini, he needs some teammates and he needs them desperately. It seemed to be a quick wheel change. Let's see if we can catch a glimpse of him. There he is. This will help his cause, just the fact that he's got the rear wheel flat, literally as they're going through the U-turn. So they'll slow right down, particularly at the rear of the peloton. He'll actually get a clean run. You see that through that hairpin turn. He'll be able to pick his speed up really quickly, and he should almost be able to get latched back on. You can see a teammate now dropping back, waiting for him. There you go. He'll utilise the car to some degree. He's allowed to do that for a few seconds, not too much. He'll get into a little bit of trouble if he does it for too much longer. And in fact, it was the team of his main rival, Jakub Modečko, Villa Triestina. They're gentlemen about it. They won't make life difficult for Marini, and it's a bit of a gentleman's agreement. Team cars don't do the wrong thing by riders when certainly they have a mechanical that's outside of their, you know, it's really just bad luck. So let's take a look at Marini here. He swings out to the right. He's already realised he's got the flat tyre. Looks around, he realises the team are straight up to him, so they were there quickly, and it looked like the wheel change was a very good one indeed. Well, I think he'll be buying his mechanic a beer at the bar tonight. Certainly if he wins the stage today. So I would imagine he is now where he joined. 10 kilometres to go. 30 seconds is still a gap. Taylor Sheldon, the American. Is it possible? Is it possible? 30 seconds with 10 kilometres to go. Surely it's not. Does he dare to dream? Sheldon now, you would think, it's time to empty the tank, leave it all out on the road. But look at him, he looks relaxed. He's got a tear in his jersey. He's got a tear on his hip. He's got a nice... He'll have a nice shiner on the side of his hip tonight. He probably won't sleep too well. And he is leading this race, the penultimate stage, with less than 10 kilometres to go. He's got a 31-second advantage. It's probably the biggest gap we've seen inside 10 kilometres to go on any stage of this year's race. What may happen? Time will tell. Well, the Peloton are obviously confident they can bring him back in a heartbeat. Marini, he's made it back, and he's made it back to the front. So the green jersey is there, Morechko is there. The sprinters are sharpening their claws on this penultimate stage of Tour of Taihu Lake. So the Peloton now starting to wind things up, but they've got one man to catch, and it's this rider here, Taylor Sheldon, the 30-year-old American, riding for America's longest running outfit, Jelly Belly. He's settled into a rhythm. He's even had a crash. It's all happened to him today, and now he is leading the stage. And he is maintaining his advantage with under 9 kilometres to go. They're 6 kilometre straights. They've done 8 laps. Well, they've done 7 laps at the moment. It's 8 laps in total. He's on the final lap. In the next 2 kilometres, he'll make the final U-turn, and then he will head for home. If he can hold this advantage, who knows? Could this be the one day that the breakaway survives? And in a fashion where, well, we wouldn't really have expected it. It's difficult for the sprinters teams in some ways. It's easy to control, but it's difficult for them to get their sprint train right because it's such a long straight stretch. There's no corners today. Yes, they've got the hairpin turns at either end, but once they make that final hairpin turn, 6 kilometres to go, it's a dead straight run into the line. So they need to be careful not to expend too much energy too early and use up too many of their teammates. So that's why they're holding back as much as possible. So they'll really just try and open it up in the last few kilometres. That's the Wantong Racing team there. That's Tsotsakis. Looks like the Greek rider there, riding for the Chinese Taipei squad. He's a strong boy. He's been present in breakaways here. He's been to 2 World Championships on the track, and he's a former national road race champion of Greece. So he knows what it's like to compete at the highest level. 7.5 kilometres to go. Sheldon is holding them. 34 seconds is the gap. There's the 3 Eritrean riders down towards the back. I wish they'd move up. It's a dangerous spot to be, not just for splits in the peloton, but certainly when crashes happen, they generally happen in the middle of the pack. They really need to try and push their way towards the front just a little. This is the Israel Academy squad there. Less than 7 kilometres to go. 35 seconds is the gap. It's an American, Taylor Sheldon, from the Jelly Belly squad that holds the advantage. And here he is. Has he caught the peloton napping? Has he caught them by surprise? And has he called their bluff? Is it going to be a case of outsmarting a peloton of some 140 odd riders? Surely the panic buttons will be hit soon. They have to. He's about to make the U-turn and then head for home. He hasn't lost a second of his advantage for the last lap. So he's obviously got some horsepower. And to bring him back, they are really going to have to turn it up. The Minsk team now, the Belarusian team, all forming, getting into formation. And they'll be working for their rider, Anton Mushishkin. He had a good stage yesterday. He was in 3rd place, Mushishkin. So he'll look to better that today. He's number 164, so we'll look for him. So he's made the turn for home. The gap now is coming down, 25 seconds suddenly. Still the biggest margin we've seen with just over 5 kilometres to go. Most breakaways have been caught at about the 5 kilometre mark. So he's going to survive at least another kilometre, at least. What an intriguing stage this has turned out to be. We saw the early break go from the gun. 5 riders. Looked like it was going to be status quo all the way to the finish. Then we saw the Israel Academy squad go on the attack in the crosswind. Forced a bit of a split, but more importantly brought the breakaway back, and then it opened itself up to more attacks. The sprinters teams lost control, and then this man here, Taylor Sheldon, went solo, and he's been off the front ever since. And now he'll be thinking of home. He can almost see it. It's in his sights. 25 seconds is the gap. 4.8 kilometres to go. He won't be confident just yet, but he'll be starting to dream of what could be. Here's a long shot. Well, a Peloton, they'll have him in their sights, but only just. He'll be just a speck. There's been a crash. There's been a crash. It looks like one of the H&R Block riders has gone down. This is not good for the Canadian outfit. It's Alexis Cartier. Oh, he's in a world of hurt. Oh, look at the skin, the rip in his jersey on his back there. So Cartier, the man that's been the aggressor. Let's take a look at the replay. Look at the riders suddenly swerve to the right. This is panic stations. And the red jersey of Chongqing Lok has gone down as well. Chongqing Lok, the leading Chinese rider, he's gone down as well. He was straight back up. Let's look at the aerial shot here. It's just a touch of wheels. Riders trying to push through. They're getting anxious to the sprint, and that's what happens. So Chongqing Lok went down. He got straight back up. You can see him there in the red colours. He got going. No, but he had a problem with his bike. His chain was off. So Chongqing Lok, and it's outside that 3 kilometre mark. So he has to chase, because if he doesn't get back on, he will legitimately lose time. If it was inside 3 kilometres to go, he basically will be granted the same time as the winner across the line. 3.4 kilometres to go for Taylor Sheldon. What an exciting stage this has become. It's had everything. It's had crosswind splits. It's had attacks. It's had the red jersey go down inside 5 kilometres to go. And now just one rider off the front. Who would have thought that this stage could have delivered such excitement? The sprinters teams have tried to wrestle control. Now they've got it, but only just. And I'd almost debate it, because it's this man off the front that is holding them. They are not picking up. He had a 25-second advantage when he made the turn with 6 kilometres to go. 3 kilometres later, he is maintaining it. Can Sheldon pull off one of the biggest victories of his career? And here for Team Jelly Belly. What a win it would be. Inside 3 kilometres to go. Now it drops down to 20 seconds. Sheldon now will be thinking even more of that finish line. He can almost feel it. He can almost see it. But so too can the Peloton. Sheldon now, boy, this man, he's got some horsepower. He must have, because the wind is blowing. There's the 3 kilometre marker. So our data tracker is wrong. Forget what the super says on the screen. So that's not good news for Sheldon. We were getting excited. Still, it's a good effort. Now the gap is coming down though quickly. 13 seconds. I think the game could be up for the American. It's been a gallant effort. Really has. He's had a crash. He's had a touchdown. He didn't let that bother him. You can see now he's starting to hurt. And the grimace on the face. Gee, it was worth a try though. Full marks for trying. And if he doesn't get the most combative award today, well, it'll simply be the wrong decision. I'll say that much. 11 seconds. He's going to be caught. He's going to be caught. We'll get the Peloton in our sights shortly. 2 kilometres to go. Well, he's survived longer than anyone all week, Sheldon, and he's done it on his own. There's the Peloton. There's the long shot. Well, they still haven't got him, but they're going to drag in on him. And there's been an attack off the front. Can you believe this? So the sprinters teams do not have full control here. It's a real scramble towards the line. Sheldon is still believing. He wants to believe. He's got no other option. It's all or nothing for him. And it's the Montana Postobon squad. Now Jason Lowndes, it looks like the Australian for the Israel Academy squad. He takes over. Sheldon is still in front. He is still in the lead. Looks like he's passed under the 1 kilometre to go. He's inside 1 kilometre to go. What an effort by the American. Now he's emptying the tank. Don't look over your shoulder, boy. Just keep on going. Oh, what a brutal sport professional cycling is, because now the catch is made. The catch is made, and now it's over to the sprinters, and it's Vilja Triestina who opens it up for Maciejski. Mareczko, it's opened up for him. He sits in 4th wheel. United Healthcare now, they're in a good position. That looks like Tanner Putt, the American Tanner Putt. Marini has got a good run to the line. Mareczko, is it going to be number 4? He's fighting towards the line. Mareczko does it again. Jakub Mareczko, one more time for him. Thank you very much, he says. He had challenges, but the power of the Italian was too great. In the leader's orange jersey. Boy, oh boy. 14 stage wins. And number 101 there, also in the mix. Jiwen Chen. He's been one of the prominent sprinters. Let's take a look at the replay now. You can see the Israel Academy squad rider there, right on the wheel of Mareczko. Immediately tries to come off the wheel, but the strong wind and Mareczko, look at the aerodynamic style of Mareczko. Just too good. Yesterday's winner, the Spaniard, also in the mix on the left there in the black colours, the black and yellow colours. Mareczko in the orange, closest to the barriers. Marini is hidden, and in fact he sits up on the line. And the Asian rider there of Chen, he's celebrating because he's potentially pushed himself up the rankings today. Well, the debrief for Vilja Triestina, smiles and happiness. It's joy all round. Mareczko, he's just too good. He really is. They got the better of him yesterday. They got the better of him on stage 1. But outside of that, he has been the dominator. 4 stage wins now for him. He holds the record at this race, 14 in total. And he now, importantly, gains another 10-second bonification seconds. He extends his overall advantage as we lead into the final stage tomorrow. So Jakub Mareczko, United Healthcare, well, they ponder what may have been. Well, 5 all round for them, and they'll battle on tomorrow. and the Buddhist temple. Here, the backdrop for today's finish stage. And what a stage it turned out to be. Jakub Morečko taking it out here in Zhangyan, the circuit race. A district with 3 merging rivers. City of 3 waterways, if you like. And you can see it all just there. Famous for an annual boat race. 3-day carnival of festivities. Population of, well, just some 800,000 in Zhangyan. The total county, some 4.5 million people. And they would have enjoyed the stage today because it was action-packed. I'm sure you'll agree with that. It's not often a circuit race like the one we saw today. Pretty straightforward, just up and down, but it gave us plenty. And the American, he almost stole the show. Taylor Sheldon, riding for Team Jelly Belly, caught with about 600 metres to go. Gee, I really didn't give him a chance with about a lap and a half to go. But he almost proved me wrong, and I would have been happily proven wrong. There's Ben Hill, the Australian, pointing to, well, where's the team bus? Time to start preparing for tomorrow for Team Ataki Gusko. They've had a good race so far. Now it's a matter of finishing the job for Hill, the Australian. He's had good success on the Asian calendar, and he'll be looking to do more of that tomorrow. So the flatlands of today will be replaced tomorrow by short, sharp hills. And it's sure to be a dramatic finale to this 8th edition of the Tour of Taihu Lake. Can Jakub Morečko hold on to that orange leader's jersey? Well, in 24 hours, we'll know the answer. So, the stage is run and won. And there's the Spaniard there. Well, he's having words. Yeah, they're not too happy. He's having words with the giant cycling team rider, the Chinese rider. He's saying that he didn't hold his line, from that's what I can gather. So the Basque rider, he'd get a little bit fiery, I would imagine. So there it is. There's the official results. Jakub Morečko. Mikael Raim there in second place, the Estonian. So great riding from him. Anton Musiskin in third again for him. Abu Dasturi, the Spaniard that I was just speaking of, in fourth. And Marc-Antoine Nadon, the Canadian, rounding out the top 10. So Nicolas Morini missing out again today. There's the beautiful golf course in this region. And there's the overall classification. So Morečko increases in his advantage to Morini by 19 seconds. But more importantly, to his overall rivals by 26 and 30 seconds. The top 10 now separated by just 32 seconds. Mikael Raim there pushing his way into the top 10 with today's stage result. So it's all to play for. The best young rider, Morečko, he leads that category as well to Nicolas Morini at 19 seconds. Mikael Raim moves up there into 32 seconds. So it's the usual suspects so far. It's the sprinters that have dominated the classifications so far on this year's race. But that could all change tomorrow. Cheung King Lok, the Hong Kong rider, riding for Team Hong Kong. He leads the Greater China General Individual Classification. So he got back on after that crash, so that's good news for him. His teammate sits in second. So they've got a firm grip on that. But again, it's very, very tight. Just 18 seconds back to third place. And the points classification, well, Morechko, he can't be beaten now. 79 points for him. So he will win that classification. Unless he has a disaster tomorrow. Marini sits in second place at 59 points, and it's a daylight to third. So the Hong Kong squad here. There's the Eritrean riders already thinking about their recovery. Well, they've put in a good performance. Let's just look at a recap now of the stage and how it unfolded. Well, they set off at 10:30. There's Chung King Lok in the red jersey there. Morini alongside him in the points classification green jersey. It was 8 laps in total of this circuit here. First sprint of the day. Taken out by the rider from the Minsk team, Bazkel, Stanislav Bazkel. And that was the main break of the day. But then it was the Israel Academy squad that set it alight. Throwing the race into the crosswind, forcing some splits and really catching the sprinters' teams unawares. They lost control of the Peloton, the sprinters' teams, and it caused new, fresh attacks inside the 30 kilometres to go. There was a little bit of argy-bargy as well. Riders starting to lose their temper. And what it did in the process was it brought back the main break of the day. Samuel and Bazkel, they tried to go it alone, but it wasn't going to happen. More riders, fresh legs went on the attack. And riders that we hadn't really spoken about too much in this race. United Healthcare, Alzate taking 3 bonification seconds at the second intermediate sprint with 22 kilometres to go. And then it was this man here, Taylor Sheldon, the American, who crashed earlier in the stage, but that didn't bother him one little bit. He went on the attack and went for home. Morini, he flattered in the final lap. He didn't panic. He got a good wheel change from his mechanic, and he quickly rejoined the peloton. Sheldon, he took the final U-turn and headed for home with an advantage still at 25 seconds. At one point, he dared to dream. But for the peloton, they had other ideas. And in the closing stages, bit by bit, they close it down. There was a crash. Cartier on the left, the Canadian, who's dominated the brakes, he went down. So too did Chung King Lok, leading the Chinese classification. And with just 600 metres to go, the game was up for the man on the left, Sheldon. It was a valiant effort, but it was to no avail. And it was the team of Vilia Triestina who did the lead out once more for their man, Jakub Morechko. Morechko sitting fifth wheel, wearing the leader's orange jersey, tucked in. Morini 2 behind him. And the United Healthcare rider there of Tanner Putt pushing for home. But when Morechko opened up his sprint, really, no one was getting near him. Too powerful, too strong, and there's a reason why he's claimed his 4th stage win of this year's race. Chinese giant rider moved up there as well. It was a blanket finish in the end. It's what we expected, but it was what happened in between that was most surprising. So it's been a good stage, and now we turn our attentions to the final stage of this great race. So the outside broadcast area sits down there, and the finish line where the riders will be presented shortly. So once again, Jakub Marečko, he sits at the top. And Morini at 19 seconds. Our reporter now, I think, is down at the presentation area. And let's hear from our winner.
Many congratulations. Jakub, many congratulations. Another great sprint. How was the final kilometer?
So on the final kilometer, there was many wind, and I put in front my mates. And in the final, Mitras, Andriato, and Zupa put me in front to duel the sprint with other riders of United Healthcare.
And you're still in orange. Do you think maybe tomorrow you can hold on to the orange? Tougher stage tomorrow.
So tomorrow I see what happened, because I don't know the com and what the rhythm of the group in the com.
And you like it here. You always do well here. You always are very successful in China. Why do you like it so much?
So because there is here there are many flat stages where I can do well.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you. See you.
Well, pretty straightforward from Jakub Marečko. I like it here because it's flat and I'm a sprinter. Well, that's pretty much how it is. Let's just look back once more. Just the teamwork that his team does for him. You see the colours on the front there, the red with the yellow sleeves. Marečko, he's not at the front exactly. He's in, well, third, fourth. He's in 7th position with 600 metres to go. But he's got the confidence and the smarts to believe in his team and to know when to make his move. And then you can see his teammate moving up. He still sits back. He waits. It seemed like it was a cross headwind. Morini moves up on his inside, and then Morini actually had a good run to the line, just not quick enough. And when Marečko timed his sprint, gee, he just really did open up gaps. Morini faded. Marečko was the winner. And you look at the slow motion there. A few other riders. The Spaniard there in the middle of the picture with a yellow helmet. He was yesterday's stage winner. Abodasturi from the Basque Country. One of the Minsk riders getting in the mix as well. That was Muzishkin. And punching the bars. Thank you very much. And Chen, the Chinese giant China team, he was very happy with his ride as well, getting up there. So he puts pressure on Chung King Lok now in the Chinese overall classification. So it's been an exciting stage, shortest stage of the race, and generally the short stages are the most exciting. So it lived up to the hype in many ways. The general individual points classification, Marečko, he has it sewn up now. He can't be beaten. He leads by 20 points to Nicolas Marini. Abodasturi at 45 points, so he moved up after yesterday's stage win, and Anton Muzishkin after yesterday's and today's performances sits in 4th place. And the big question is, can Jakub Marečko hold on to that leader's orange jersey? So we'll say bye for now, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow for the final stage of Taihu Lake for 2017. We hope you've enjoyed it. We'll see you then.